Hi, I'm Ingo from Roast Rebels, and in this video I will introduce you to the Nucleus Link coffee roaster. The Nucleus Link is a sample roaster with which you can roast 50 to 100 grams of coffees in about 7 minutes. It has been developed with a particular group of users in mind, and these are professionals within coffee production, coffee trading and coffee roasting. Of course, it will also be popular with some home roasters, but if you want to take full advantage of the machine, then you need to have a particular interest in coffee, especially green coffee. The machine has been developed with three main targets. One is to make it really simple to use, so that with the press of a button, anyone can roast a roast of really high quality. And the reason behind that is that there are many people within the coffee industry that have a particular focus or competence, like for example coffee production, and the machine will allow them to now roast the coffee very simply to evaluate then the quality of the coffee they're producing. The second goal was to have a machine that produces consistent roasts despite of the conditions you're in. So no matter what weather or climate conditions you're in, no matter what altitude you are, the machine is roasting the same and the taste it's producing is the same, so that, for example, if you're on a coffee farm in Guatemala, if you're in a trading house in Hamburg, or if you are in a coffee roaster in Amsterdam, you can roast this coffee the same, and then you can also communicate together and talk about the quality of the coffee you have produced. And the third goal was to make this at a price point that is affordable for many people, so that more people then have access to a high quality sample roaster. But let's have now a look at the features of the machine. The machine is a fluid bed, so hot air coffee roaster. It's fully automatic and it can be used anywhere. It can just be plugged into the normal power network and be used anywhere where you have electricity. It's made for amounts from 50 to 100 grams, so these are the common sizes for sample roasting. And you're going to tell the machine which amount of coffee you are roasting. You can do that in steps of 1 gram, so that the machine is then aligning it so that despite of the amount of coffee you are roasting, you have a consistent roast. The way the Nucleus Link is roasting the coffee is called PID. So the machine is following a temperature profile, and it's doing that based on the bean temperature. So that's different from other coffee roasters, which are, for example, measuring the temperature of the air. But the Nucleus Link is really then measuring the bean temperature with a really fast and precise bean probe. The big benefit of that is that the roast is consistent despite of the condition outside. So it doesn't matter if it's a bit hotter or if it's a bit cooler, the roast is always precisely the same because the machine works its way along the bean temperature. Depending on the altitude where you are, coffee roasts a bit differently. And therefore the Nucleus team has developed an altitude calibration mechanism so that you have a similar roast at 1,500 meters on a coffee farm or at 0 meters above sea level in your roastery. The machine is coming with more than 200 preset coffee roasting profiles, and these profiles are really of high quality. They have been developed by Sam Cora. He has been working closely together with coffee competitors, so already quite some coffee competitors have been using the Nucleus Link machine. He has been working with roasteries, with green coffee traders, really to fine-tune these profiles so that they bring out the best of green coffee. And 200 profiles may sound a little bit overwhelming, but the nice thing is they've developed an app where you enter the density of the bean, where you enter the processing of the bean, and then it gives you the roasting profile that you're going to use for this coffee. So you just enter the profile in the machine and can do your roast. You have also the possibility to develop your own profiles, or then also download profiles from other people, for example in coffee boards. But you have also the possibility to send it, for example, by email, so that a coffee producer and a roastery, they can work together, exchange their profiles, work and fine-tune the profiles, so that together it can bring out the best on the coffee and then communicate about the coffee, which is really the idea behind this link system. Thanks to the roasting style of the machine, it produces less CO2, and this means that you can cup the coffee directly out of the machine. Still, usually you're waiting these 1 to 3 days to bring it on the cupping table. Nevertheless, if you, for example, on a field trip and you want to talk about the coffees immediately with the people there, you can just roast it, put it on the cupping table, and it's already of a very high quality. And one thing I really like about the machine is that it hardly needs any maintenance. You have this chaff collector, you're going to clean the chaff collector sometimes. You can open it and you will always then put the chaffs out of the chaff collector. Beside of that, it hardly needs any maintenance. Just clean it a little bit from chaffs, that's all you have to do. The Nucleus Link is being delivered in such a high quality and very strong case that you can easily take anywhere. It comes from the military use and therefore it's really strong, high quality, it's shock absorbent, and it also protects your machine if you're outside and it's raining. The whole machine with the suitcase and all the accessories that are coming with the machine weigh about 12 kilos. So it can be easily taken anywhere if you're going on a field trip to some coffee producing countries, for example. If you're opening the box, you see how everything is really made to protect your machine. You find the coffee roaster, you find the chaff collector, a dosing cup, a density tube, a coffee tray, and some cables. I will now take everything out of the case so that you can see it then in detail. When you receive your machine, it will be delivered, as said, with this strong case here that you can take anywhere. You will have the roasting machine, which is really light and compact. You will have this chaff collector that is capturing then the chaffs. It's made of glass so that you can see the roast during roasting. It has here a little cup to take out the chaffs after the roast, very simply. It will come with a dosing cup where you can measure the amount of beans that you want to put in the machine, put it in the machine, but also after the roast you can put the cup on it and then empty machine so that you have the green beans then in this dosing cup again. Here it will come with this density tube. The density tube is here to measure the density of your beans. It will come with a coffee tray, with an instruction manual, and then with a USB cable to connect your machine to your computer. It's a USB cable. And the machine doesn't always need to be connected to the computer. So if you're, for example, outside on a coffee trip, you can use it just as it is. But when you're connecting the machine to your computer, you can exchange profiles or also the logs that you did with the roast and then have them also on your computer so that you're able to share it with anyone. One thing that you need to measure the density of your beans and that it's not coming with the machine is such a conventional kitchen or coffee scale just to measure the weight of the beans. The machine will also come with an app, a smartphone app, which is of course free. The app has two functions. One is to find the calibration value for a machine according to the altitude you are at. And the other function is to find the right roasting profile for your machine where you enter the density and then also the processing method, and it will give you the number of the roasting profile that you can then use on your machine. And in addition to that, the machine comes with a good software, Nucleus Studio, which is of course free. The software has several functions. The main ones are that you're managing the profiles there. So you have your database of profiles. You can also develop and work on profiles, save it and change it with other people. And the other function is that you see the logs, that you see your previous roast and then can analyze them. And one thing you can do if the machine is connected to your computer during the roast, you can then live follow the roast on your computer and you will see live where the roast is now at in your profile. This has been quite a lot of theory. Now we're going to look on how the machine is working and we're going to do a roast together on the Nucleus Link. The first thing you are going to do when you use your machine for the first time, or also when you're at the new location that you haven't been before, you're going to calibrate the machine to the altitude where you are at. In my case, I am in Zurich at an altitude of 422 meters above sea level. So I take my smartphone, I go to the Nucleus app, and I see in the Nucleus app I have two functions. One is called Profile Selector, the other is called Fan Calibration. So I will go to Fan Calibration, and then I will see here a field where I can enter my current meters above sea level, which are 422. Here I can choose the voltage that I'm in. So I'm working with a 220 volt machine in a 220 volt network. I press on done, and then I get a value of 1.025. So what I'm going to do now is pressing the button right on the right hand side. I see press play now for airspeed trim. This is exactly what we have to do. So I press the play button, and now I see a value of 1.005. I press plus or minus, so plus until 1.025, play button, and now it's saved and the calibration is in the machine. And this is only to be done one time if you're always at the same location, or one time if you arrive at a new location, just to calibrate the machine to the altitude we are working with it. And now the second thing you are going to do when you want to roast coffees is you are going to define the density of the beans you are working with. And therefore you take the equipment that comes with your machine plus this scale. You take some green coffee beans. If you only have smaller samples, then you need something between 80 to 100 grams of coffee is perfect. You take this little density tube, open it so that the cup is away from the tube, then put the tube on the scale, then tar the scale so that it's set to 0. Then take it again into this tray, put beans over it until it's really full. And now that it's full, you take this cover, but take it upside down so that it's flat here, and you go over the beans and just take away all the beans that are over the top, so that you can then close the tube by putting this cup on it. So you take this tube, put it on the scale, and now on the scale I see 64.6 grams. So I have 64.6 grams in my tube. And in the app this time I go to the profile selector. I choose new sample entry. I go to this density field where I put in the amount of beans I have, which is in my case 64.5 grams. I choose the processing, and in this case it's a washed coffee. It's a Guatemalan coffee. I could put in a variety here. This is more for statistics of the Nucleus team so that they know with what we are usually to roast and can adapt the profiles. I'm going to choose the unit that's important. The variety can be left empty. I press on done, and then I get the value of, in this example, 209.5. So this is the profile that is best suited for my coffee. To choose a profile, so with the button number, with the fourth button, with this little sign, this is the profile button. We are going on the profile mode, and then you see now it's 199. I can go up and down with these plus and minus buttons. So I go now to 209.5, which has been the profile the machine has selected for me. The amount of beans that I can enter, which is something that I can choose in steps of 1 gram. So I take now 100 gram, press the play button, and with the play button, the roast will start. Now the roaster is doing everything on its own. So the machine was roasting for a little bit more than 6.5 minutes, and then it took a bit more than 3.5 minutes to cool down the beans. So the whole process took about 10 minutes and 15 seconds from starting to roast to the end. Now I can take off the chaff collector, put in this cup on the machine, turn the machine, and here I have a beautiful sample. Now I can go directly into my cupping. That's it. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you want to know more about the Nucleus Link, then click on the link here. You find a lot of information on our website. Also follow our channel because we're posting a lot about coffee roasting machines, green coffee. And if you have any more questions, then you can always come back to me. I look forward to hearing from you, and you find my contact on roastrebels.com.